So on to the second matchup in the Eastern Conference. We have the Rangers and the Canes. Rangers had great comeback in round one, but I think they're pretty lucky to be here. If I'm being honest, they had to come back in games 5, 6, and 7. So it was not only series comeback, but comebacks in each game. And they played against Louis Domingue and a very clearly hurt Tristan Jarry in game 7. Sid missed a game or two. I don't know. I've been sort of ragging on the Rangers all year, but I think the Canes are going to be sort of a step too far for them, in my opinion. But what were your thoughts on game one?
I thought game one is everything you expected to see in this series. Carolina plays a very, very, very tight defensive game under Rob Brind'Amour. I think they had the lowest goals against of any team in the NHL this year, especially on 5-on-5. Shesterkin is a future Vezina winner, is going to win the Vezina this year, usually bails out that lackluster defensive team. Carolina's in the middle third of goals too. The whole reason I'm saying this is because this equals 2-1 games pretty much every single game I'm expecting to see. If you're a betting man, I'm saying take the under at most of these games. But any of this advice, in no way I am responsible for, considering I do not have the best betting record. It's going to be a low-scoring season. At the end of the day, for New York to have a chance beating Carolina, they're going to need .950 goaltending from Shesty. And I mean, we saw that last night.
Possible.
Right? That team is very good offensively. But once again, in the playoffs, when you come up against a very seasoned playoff team that has good goaltending, and how Carolina is doing some way I will never understand with Antti Ranta, I don't think they can expect to score more than 3 a night.
No, I don't think you can. I think you touched on their terrible defense too. I think they have like the worst expected goals percentage of all teams left in the playoffs.
It's bad.
I think they're the definition of, like, there's lipstick on a pig, and the pig is the Rangers, and they're a pretty ugly pig. But I mean, credit to them for getting here, I guess. But I think this is going to be a tough one, if I'm being honest. I think one positive when I was watching the game yesterday, I hadn't noticed him really when I was watching them against Pittsburgh, but Lafreniere was flying. I noticed him, Hedl, and Kako, that line looked really good. Did you see that Ranta save off his skate? Like, that could have been a huge goal. That was that line that made all that happen. We talked about the Rangers really only being a one-line team for a lot of the season. They added Andrew Copp, but if this line can get rolling and Lafreniere can really sort of maybe stake a claim for being one of the better young players in this league, maybe that's a source of strength that can maybe allow them to upset the Canes. I don't necessarily see that happening, but having the depth, especially from that line, and those guys who are big and can maybe get into corners and grind down a little bit, could be something to look out for.
Yeah, for sure. In the first series against Pittsburgh, they got hammered 5-on-5. It wasn't even close. Good. They relied on special teams, and granted, they had a great power play. Mm-hmm. If they don't play well on special teams, it's going to be a beating. And I know I used the word beating in the last series with Tampa. I think this one's an even bigger beating, in my opinion. Uh-oh. Unless the New York Rangers have like a 40% power play percentage, which is going to be difficult considering how fantastic Carolina is on the penalty kill. I mean, they cannot rely on 5-on-5 games. And I don't think there was a single penalty called the entire game until the third period. I mean, It's going to be tough. The one thing I want to talk about really quickly is why Rob Brind'Amour shuffles the lines every 30 seconds.
Yeah, that's been a thing of his. We've kind of talked about it all year because we had some Canes on fantasy and we're thinking why they're so variable, and then when they put up points, it's because he shuffles a line almost every game, and even within games now. Yeah,
first of all, the perfection lines, quote unquote, seem to work in the NHL. So I don't understand why Aho and Svechnikov aren't playing together. And second of all, even if the argument is, you don't want to put all your talent on one line, they have pretty good secondary scoring with Trocheck and Teravainen.
Yeah.
Right? They started the game with Aho, Svechnikov, and then after 2 terrible periods, which is maybe why they did this, they ended up completely shuffling everything. They put Teravainen on the first line. They moved Nietzsche up from the fourth line to the second line. All insane amounts of shuffling. I mean, it worked. I just don't understand how chemistry develops on lines that are constantly changing.
Yeah, that's a good point. I guess how can you really find a rhythm if you're getting changed up all the time? But maybe the thought process behind that is we're going to just throw different lines at you that all have different strengths, and it's going to really throw the defense for a loop if they're used to playing against the same guys every time. Even if that line's really good, maybe you have a chance to figure them out as the game goes on.
Yeah.
But if you're throwing really good players in different sort of combinations over the boards every time, it might put an already weak defense on their heels even more. And that, I mean, he's been doing that all year, so this probably isn't a thing you thought about just for this series, but maybe for this series, why maybe it works out.
Yeah, I guess if Gallant plans for certain matchups too, once they throw the lines and mix them up, I mean, maybe New York isn't prepared for that, and they catch them on their heels, which is what they did last night. I'll give it to New York. In the first period, they were the better team, but come the second and third period, Carolina turned it up a notch. I was watching that game, and it was only a matter of time until they scored.
Yeah, it was kind of an unlucky goal in overtime too, because he tipped it into his own net. I think it was lingering. But I think the better team ended up winning. I think the better team will ultimately win this series.
In how long?
I've said 6 for both series, so I don't want to say 6 again. So I'll go a little bit more bold here. I'll say Carolina in 5. I think they win it at home.
I agree too. Carolina in 5.
Okay. Now to the last series, and this is going to be an interesting series because if Game 1 suggests anything, like that projects to a sweep, but I don't think that's going to happen. But that Game 1 was incredibly lopsided.
I will be the first to admit I had St. Louis winning the cup.
It's still early.
I know one game doesn't decide a series, but if St. Louis played the way they did that game all series, this series is done in 4. They're going to lose every game 6-1.
Yeah, that was ugly.
Right? And we know Craig Berube's team is not coming out this way in Game 2.
No.
But I'm pretty sure St. Louis going into the third had less high danger chances than Colorado had post hit. And I'm not even saying that as a joke. I think Colorado legitimately had 5 post hit. Binnington was standing on his head, made 2 automatic goal-saving saves. It should have literally been 6-1 going into the third.
It's so weird to think like a team got dominated that bad, but the goalie was still standing on his head. That if those two things don't usually happen unless you're getting like literally walked all over, that's exactly what happened. I think the expected goals in this game were 5.1 to 1.9.
Yeah.
I don't even know if post hit count as towards expected goals because they're not shots on net.
No, they don't. And I'm pretty sure it was it's like 52 to 16 in shots.
That's crazy. That's crazy. That's just total domination. Did you say for which game was it that every player on one team was positive Corsi for expected goals for percentage?
Calgary.
That was the same in this game. All the Avalanche were positive expected goals percentage. All the Blues were negative. I've never seen that happen before, but I guess it happened twice in one night.
I watched the entire game. I'm pretty sure that St. Louis had under 10 quality chances the entire game. And for anyone watching, it's impossible to disagree with me. The Kyrou and O'Reilly goals were legitimate flukes. Cale Makar made a terrible defensive turnover. And granted, Ryan O'Reilly made a beautiful deke over Darcy Kemper. But that opportunity partial break should have never happened. It was a fluke. Yeah. And the second one on Kyrou, the power play was so bad. They get a terrible turnover. I look like he, what's the word I'm looking for? Fanned on the shot.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Fanned on the shot, and it somehow went through the wickets and went in. It should have been 8-0.
Yeah, that was a beatdown. Remember, one of the narratives coming out of the Blues' first round series against the Wild was that they were missing Candela and Krug, and they dressed 11 forwards, and they beat them by committee. They had defense playing smaller roles, and they did it by committee. But I don't think that's going to be enough against this team, and especially when it comes to moving the puck. I think Krug is probably one of the better puck moving defensemen, right, in the league. And Colorado forechecks the crap out of you. Like they're right on you. They're pressing. They're relentless. And so if you have hammer throwers on the back end like Robert Bertuzzo, no disrespect to him, but he probably wouldn't be playing if everyone was healthy. If you have guys who can't think quick and move the puck quickly in the D zone, you're just gonna get hemmed in. And that's what happened. They were trying to just flick pucks out, taking icings. If that's what you're gonna do against the Avs, you are asking to get destroyed.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I was looking on Twitter and a lot of analysts also hit the nail on the head, is that this is how St. Louis has played all year. That's one thing I will give to them. The way that they play hockey is they do not have most of the possession most of the game. Yeah. Most of the game is spent in their end, but they have 9 guys who've scored over 20 goals and will pummel you on an offensive turnover. And what did we see last night? We saw 52-16 in shots or something like that. Sorry, I don't have a photographic memory. And we saw Ryan O'Reilly and Jordan Kyrou score 2 goals on 2 terrible defensive turnovers, and they're very clinical in their finishes. So, I mean, when you got a team that has, I mean, what's 9 guys that score 20 goals? That's 3 lines of 20 goal scorers.
That's deep.
I mean, that might be their chance, and we did talk about it before Colorado went out and got Josh Manson, that their entry zone defense was the one terrible part of their game. Where coming into their own zone, they aren't able to defend odd man rushes. We know that's where the Blues capitalized. That's where the Blues got their goals last night. I mean, I don't think it's going to be enough.
Yeah, I was going to say, even though they did score their goals where you expect them to, against a team like you don't play the Avs 82 games and then the first round. Like this is just a different team. And if you're a team that identifies themselves by soaking up pressure and then try and beat a team on the break, or by being opportunistic when you get the chance, you're not going to get as many of those opportunities against this team, and they're going to be making sure they get theirs in your end. So it's going to be a tough series.
So what does all this brew for you? Colorado and how many?
Blues in 4.
Okay.
No, Avs. I got the Avs in 6. I think the Blues are definitely going to get their wins. I could even see this going 7 as well. I think the Avs are going to take it in 6, though.
Maybe I'm being bold. Colorado in 5, in my opinion.
Oh, baby.
Yeah, I got a lot of 5s.
What do you care more about, your bracket or your parlay tonight?
Considering I took Colorado, please. Colorado's win 15-1. Do me a favor. But, I mean, if Binnington continues with this, how he's playing, I mean, he's going to keep him in these games.